VR headsets suck.
Mainstream VR is fucking dead on arrival.
The glorious future of virtual reality is looking a little less glorious.
Oculus has more than fallen from grace.
Today we're asking the question, is PlayStation VR a failure?
Hoo boy, the VR generation started, what, a month ago? And already the downward spiral begins.
In my opinion, I think VR is dead.
Oh, that's not really true. At least, well, no, it's just not true at all. Nope, still not true. Despite the sheer volume of VR is dead videos being turned out by the clickbait video factories, VR isn't really the disaster these outlets want you to think it was. Or is, since I still think it's very much alive. I don't like talking about it in the past tense, since almost every day there's some exciting piece of VR-related news that's convinced me VR isn't dead on arrival. And that's quite enough for me to keep getting excited about these new headsets, games, and experiments we keep hearing about on a weekly, if not daily basis. But that's kind of the key to holding the same position I do. If you're not tuned into what's going on in the VR space, then you're more inclined to agree with what those poorly researched and reactionary articles and videos tell you. I think everyone is being a little too preemptive in their VR is dead comments on image boards. Sony has willingly provided their headset sales numbers and continue to do so. These numbers line up with their earlier statements that they were right on track with the number of headsets they've been able to push to consumers. HTC and Oculus have similar sentiments, and the believability of these statements are reinforced when you see the recent sale, taking 50% off the launch price and the permanent price reduction of both Rift and Touch. And some might say this is an effort to quickly ditch stock before they get steamrolled by ZeniMax and the ongoing lawsuits as a final push to clear stock before they're not allowed to sell any more units. But let's remove the tinfoil hat, at least for a moment. Traditionally, hardware sales have always held the lousiest return for a company. Typically, we only see price drops when the software sales have been doing so well that those alone are able to prop up a future price reduction in order to get more hardware units out to keep the cycle going. Since Oculus is a provider of both the hardware and software in the VR market, I think it's rather telling that they've been doing so well on the software side that they feel comfortable enough to drop the price by such a dramatic amount. And it's not really surprising we're not seeing a reactionary price cut from HTC, as their approach into the VR space continues to separate itself from Oculus's. HTC has set out to make a profit almost exclusively from the hardware, despite their push for a digital storefront with their own funded software for exclusive use with the Vive, named Viveport. But the store directly competes with Steam in the West, but over in China where Steam isn't as popular, it seems HTC is comfortable absorbing that market. To me, it seems HTC is less concerned with cornering the Western consumer market as Oculus is, but instead much more interested in capturing the businesses and arcades, primarily in the Asian market. But success in the business sector doesn't help stimulate the public's perception about VR. Potential customers only care about two things: price and content. If the price is reasonable enough, and there's enough solid content to entice users to buy a unit, adoption rates will hopefully keep snowballing until consumer confidence is sustainable. At least, that's the end goal. Not one that is reached by sprinting to the end as quickly as possible, but a race that can only be won as a marathon. The price issue was being worked on extensively during VR's first year, after realizing just how much the landscape of previous VR requirements have changed. Advancements in rendering technologies by major engine distributors, graphics card manufacturers, new technologies by Oculus, Valve, and Sony, and substantial and continuous price adjustments for the hardware have together helped drop the previously expensive bar of entry to the ground. Entry-level VR-ready video cards have been sold at a reasonable price for a while, and partnerships with engine studios like Epic have helped squeeze out a significant amount of juice from older cards as well. If engine studios like Epic are working on new rendering technologies specifically for VR, then the assumption that they're working on VR content is a safe one to make. Robo Recall might be one of the most over-the-top fun experiences in VR to date, and Epic's partnership with Oculus has brought the title free to owners of the headset. The content of today's VR is nowhere near the level of polish and support that I thought we would reach 2 years ago. Truthfully, there's a lot of bullshit out there that was someone's first impression of VR and they think, well, this sucks. And they wouldn't be wrong to think that. There's a lot of stuff out there that sucks. The non-curated VR page of Steam is plagued with over 2,000 titles. Maybe 50 of those are worth anyone's time. VR is repeatedly referred to as having a chicken and egg problem. And that might have been true a year ago, but it's becoming less and less true as time moves on. There are a number of truly great games like Serious Sam VR, other Serious Sam VR, Riggs, Battlezone, Raw Data, Onward, Echo Arena, but for the most part, they go unnoticed and unheard of. I guess what I'm really trying to say is, I think VR is wonderful. The technology we have today provides fleeting moments where your brain makes you believe you're someplace else, that you're actually in the game. What we had 3 years ago provided similar feelings, but the entire experience was much rougher around the edges. Those moments where you felt like you were there were far less frequent, and they required much more effort to achieve. We went from a screen replacement device with head look to a screen replacement device with head look and leaning. We had to physically disconnect monitors and dive into .ini configs to enable nearly hidden VR modes. Now, we're able to put a small camera on our desk, or stick some tiny black boxes in our room and walk around these worlds. We can reach out and interact with objects in a new way. An abstract way, sure, but an always enjoyable and memorable way. When you're able to lose yourself in these worlds, truly lose yourself, and forget you're actually swinging giant cumbersome controllers in your living room with a hot brick on your face, you realize VR is something truly special and worth fighting for. For me, it's frustrating trying to describe what VR is like and getting others to share the same passion and excitement I have. The experiences that I've shared with strangers around the world in the way VR, or blasting through a course in Dirt Rally, or even drawing pulsating squiggly bands in Tilt Brush are moments that I want to share with others. Though right now, it isn't for everyone, nor will be. I think VR will eventually be right for most people. Maybe I'm just a big old marketing and PR sponge and am delusional that things will get better. But I'm starting to see a turn of attitude towards VR, and I hope this change continues. VR certainly has an uphill battle ahead of itself, and there are a ton of technical limitations that need to be overcome to unlock its greatest potential. But with what I've seen change over the last few years, and what I see of the future, I firmly believe its potential isn't anywhere close to being realized.